Next, from AMVETS, we have Greg Heun.
Thank you, Chairman, ranking members, and members of this committee. As the largest veteran service organization representing all of America's veterans, AMVETS is honored to provide our legislative priorities for the remainder of the 117th Congress. Last Memorial Day weekend, AMVETS hosted our first Rowing to Remember pro-veterans demonstration ride here in Washington, D.C. This is the nation's largest veterans event, which brings together tens of thousands of veterans and supporters from across the United States, riding their motorcycles to demand continued and increased action for the 82,000 service members still missing in action, as well as raising awareness of the many veterans who died by suicide each day. This year's event will take place on May 29, 2022. We will never forget our POWs and our MIAs, and we won't stop fighting for real solutions to suicide crisis. 2021 was a tough year for veterans, and we expect it to have lasting repercussions. First, the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan increased the number of veterans approaching our HEAL team for assistance. Second, COVID has continued to kill and sicken many of our population, isolate others, stress our VA medical care employees, and leave many unemployed. Sexual assault survivors watched as senior senators on the Senate Armed Service Committee stripped language from Military Justice Improvement Act that would have removed sexual assault from the oversight of their chain of command. A betrayal from the leaders who are in positions to protect our troops. For the first time ever, the Pentagon denied veterans a permit for the annual Rowing to Remember Memorial Day ride. Most recently, our veterans and service members are watching the situation in Ukraine unfold. Our prayers are with the people of Ukraine, our troops, and our NATO allies. A fellow Kentuckian once said, "I'm a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring the real facts." That was Abraham Lincoln. Here are the facts. We continue to average more than 6,000 veteran suicides every year, despite spending $15 billion a year on VA mental health and suicide programs. 50 to 90% of our veterans walk out of VA programs and services never completing the recommended number of visits. No business or nonprofit losing 50 to 90% of its customers would call that a success, nor would they scale that model. AMVETS' #1 priority has and continues to be encouraging Congress to create and fund effective programs and services that significantly reduce suicide. Congress worked diligently to pass the John Scott Hannon Veterans Mental Health Care Act, Improvement Act of 2019. Nearly 2 years later, 12,000 veterans lost their lives and nothing but a static VA webpage. Is this what we call progress? Is this what the VA and Congress calls urgency? With the $15 billion annual budget for mental health, we could fund 60 Wounded Warrior projects or DAVs. Does anyone feel like this funding is having the impact of 60 of our largest veteran nonprofits? We don't. We have scaled overpriced, underperforming models. Tens of thousands of veterans have died, yet Congress continues to support scaling broken options. Many members of Congress have continued to argue on behalf of this broken model while failing to do due diligence on the available alternatives, failing to look into the extraordinary dropout rates of VA programs and services, failing to hold meaningful hearings that include researchers that have highlighted the poor outcomes occurring at VA, failing to hold hearings that include individuals who have presented robust longitudinal data on new and novel approaches that are resulting in veterans living high-quality lives, failing to conduct significant oversight, travel to better understanding the available alternatives. Roughly 4 congressional committee staff are left to tackle this issue that results in more than 6,000 dead every year and $15 billion spent. That's 4 staff. Members of this committee, you are the board members that oversees a notoriously underperforming mental health system with a budget of 60 DAVs. Our veterans' lives are counting on you to hold VA to act with a sense of urgency. We need a culture that demands better data-driven outcomes. We need a new model that immediately drives down suicide rates significantly and not marginally. We need a Congress that allocates serious staff and resources to this issue. In our written testimony, we have outlined numerous approaches that Congress can take to get more proactive. We need you to take serious action. Chairman, ranking members, members of these committees, this concludes my testimony, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.